Hello and welcome to Warehouse Partners. My name is Rob Boyce, Chief Executive Officer, and this is my business partner, Erin, Chief Operating Officer.
Today we're going to be talking to you about multi-tenant light industrial investments and how that compares to multifamily investments.
You know, a lot of people that I talk to, this is the first conversation they're going to have about multi-tenant light industrial, and it's their first introduction to the asset class. Some people may be familiar with it. Some people may have seen it driving by the freeway and wondered what happens behind those roll-up doors.
Multi-tenant light industrial is essentially a large building with a number of inline spaces that is occupied by businesses in the service industry, storage tenants, e-commerce tenants, last mile delivery tenants, and a whole variety of other types of businesses.
Erin, you know, a lot of people that invest in Warehouse Partners' current projects, they come from the multifamily investing world. And they draw a lot of comparisons to multi-tenant light industrial to multifamily or apartments. What would you think are the major comparison points talking to our investors and people that are interested in our projects? What have they mentioned to you in the past?
So some of the similarities between multi-tenant light industrial and multifamily assets is that they are smaller units with shorter lease terms. There's no tenant improvements in either of the asset classes, and they're essentially move-in ready for businesses and or families. When you're looking at light industrial, the lease rates are going to be much higher in these smaller inline units than they would be in a large space that houses a single tenant. Same way that your apartment rents are going to be higher per square foot than a house would be.
So you could compare, let's say, a 2,000 square foot, which is our average unit size, industrial suite or unit, to, let's say, a one bedroom or a studio apartment rather than the 3-bedroom or, you know, renting a single family house or something. It's the magnitude of volume, right?
Exactly. And the other benefit, just like multifamily, is that when the turnover happens and if tenants move out, your entire rent roll is not relying on that one tenant staying in the space. You have consistent turnover that fluctuates throughout year over year, but your occupancy rates stay high because you're not losing one giant tenant.
So rather than being dependent on, let's say, an Amazon or Walmart as your distribution tenant, you have a lot of smaller tenants. You know, these are all those small businesses, but you know, 2,000 square feet, or, you know, sometimes they'll take, you know, 2, 3, 4 of these things. But if you lose one tenant, the project's not going to go under. So you've reduced your liability or reduced your risk.
Correct.
Just like having one apartment tenant is not going to change the outlook of your multifamily apartment complex.
Yes, your quarterly prospectus will remain the same.
So, Erin, let's talk about tenant demand. You know, a lot of people say, I invest in multifamily because there's so much demand for apartments and multifamily, and you know, just keeping up with the pace is why I'm interested in multifamily. What is the market velocity, as we say in the industry, or what is the interest or sheer volume of tenants that would be participating in or interested in multi-tenant light industrial?
Well, California is the #1 industrial state in the United States. It's also the 5th largest gross domestic product in the world. That being said, there is an increase in the amount of need for light industrial units growing over the past decade, and even more so in the past few years due to the e-commerce boom. The demand for light industrial cannot currently be met with the existing supply, which is where Warehouse Partners developments come in, because we find markets where the need is prevalent and they're being underserved in an asset class that is typically cast aside as not as desirable. But really, every single business that you see, every large business, every company that comes to your house to do work, they all need warehouse in some capacity. And so these type of spaces really accommodate those needs, and we're filling that demand.
It's been my experience that a lot of industrial currently getting built, especially as we see in the news, Erin, 1 million square feet for Amazon, 1 million square feet for Walmart and Target and corporations like this. But I don't see too much press about these small metal buildings. So when we think about light industrial, when we think about small tenants, how do those white vans get to our house? Do they come from the Amazon distribution facility, or is there a waypoint in between?
Every single one of those large distribution centers need to have smaller properties surrounding them in various distances. And those type of spaces can be utilized, and specifically Warehouse Partners Development have been catered to, has to go in those little white vans or be distributed through third-party shippers that need somewhere to store, unload, and reload in order to go that last mile to homes.
But wait, Erin, 75 to 100 tenants on your average project site, that's way too many tenants. That's outrageous. But in multifamily, having 500 units is a beneficial thing. So maybe do you want to talk about some comparisons between the burden of management and comparisons between multi-tenant light industrial and multifamily?
So similarly to multifamily, there's a large number of units to manage. And so that's where expertise and operations really comes in. And Warehouse Partners, Rob and myself, have been working in the multi-tenant light industrial field for the last decade at least. And we are experts in managing, operating, and leasing these type of units. Whereas 500 units in an apartment complex would require an on-site manager in order to maintain it effectively, we have a operations playbook that makes everything efficient, leveraging technology, utilizing our personal expertise to make everything run smoothly and efficiently. And our investors don't have to worry about anything because these are passive investments.
So let's talk about some analogies, and we're talking about some comparisons, but what are the major differences? For me, on the operational side, one of the things I notice immediately is the difference between multi-tenant light industrial and multifamily or apartments is that we're not dealing with families, and we're not dealing with residential style leases where there are a lot of tenants' rights and complexities involved. Most of our tenants are either small, medium, or even national tenants. And so there's different dynamics on the management side. Do you want to talk about the differences between maybe managing an apartment with 100 families or managing an industrial business park with close to 100 small businesses or corporations?
Yeah, one of the things we always used to say about the differences between multi-tenant light industrial and multifamily is that when you're dealing with multifamily, you're dealing with people and you're dealing with their home and where they live, and that's very close to their heart. And when you're dealing with businesses in multi-tenant light industrial, you're dealing with somebody's wallet. With businesses, you're dealing with somebody's company, whether it's a small business, a regional business, or a national corporation with a small footprint in the marketplace. You're dealing with someone who's going to be professional, and you're dealing with someone who has systems and processes in place to have things be efficient and smooth. And so you're not trying to catch someone on their way home from work or on their way to the vet with their pet. They're in business mode when you're talking to them, and so they're going to treat you and treat the management as a business.
One of the things that people are often curious about is, Rob, Erin, who are these tenants? You talk about these businesses, small, regional, they might be, have, locations throughout the state of California, or they might be a nationally recognized corporation. But who are the actual tenants? What type of tenants occupy these spaces?
So the tenants that occupy these spaces are going to be a variety of businesses, and you're looking at service-based businesses, your plumbers, contractors, electricians, HVAC. Warehouse Partners developments are purely industrial. There's a lot of industrial complexes that have mixed use, and so we focus on the actual small businesses that need industrial space. You're also going to have storage tenants. You're going to have tenants that are downsizing their office and they need to store a significant amount of furniture. You have tenants that are moving out of their garage where they've been established for the past 5, 10, 15 years and are now needing bigger spaces as the e-commerce and economy really relies on those online businesses. So they're out of their garage into the units. So you're catching tenants both on the way up and on the way down, which is why we say that multi-tenant light industrial is an all-weather investment, regardless of the state of the economy.
You know, one of the things I like best about multi-tenant light industrial, having been introduced to the asset class over a decade ago, is I noticed when the economy has some challenges, it actually performs much better. And one of the reasons is when people no longer require large warehouse, office, retail, and these are some of the challenges that we see in the economy today, is some of these asset classes come and go. But where do they put all these things? Where do they store all of those hundreds of desks and telephones or retail store fixtures waiting to the economy to improve, to sell those assets, or even just to store them? Self-storage is a terrible solution when it comes to industrial size storage. And then access is an issue.
One of the benefits for this type of property is remote access. You're able to go on the site within the security gates anytime, day or night, that you need to access your space. There's no operating hours or anything like that.
You know, bringing it back to multifamily for a minute, there are a multitude of multifamily investments, and we see that in the marketplace today, and there's no shortage of offerings. Different areas, different styles. But Erin, I don't see a lot of multi-tenant industrial available. Why isn't there a lot of multi-tenant industrial investment, and why isn't there a lot of multi-tenant industrial development?
So multi-tenant light industrial has had a cyclical lifespan. In the 70s and 80s, it was really popular, and there was a ton of supply delivered to the market. And then there has been a decline in the amount of square feet developed from about 4 million in the 1970s into about 400,000 in the 2010s. And so that significant decrease has also led to deferred maintenance on a lot of these older properties. They're not up to ADA standards, so your regional national businesses can't occupy them because they don't meet their requirements.
You know, on a development scale, it's not a popular choice because seemingly developing 1 million square feet from Amazon sweeps all the headlines. It's attractive for institutional, large-scale investors, and that's what you see in the Times, that's what you see on television, and that's really what's talked about. And similarly to multifamily, there's no shortage of demand. And so there's no bottom to the market in terms of tenants, and there's no bottom to the markets in terms of potential. And so that's one of the major differences, is that people in the development and investment sphere, which we operate, seemingly 74 or 100 tenants seems like a lot of tenants to manage. But that is our expertise, and that's our background, and that's the perspective that we take. And so we package this opportunity for ourselves and for our investors to participate.
We're really trying to fill a niche in the market that we know has a lot of demand, provides a lot of cash flow, and is in desperate need of development.
Indeed, it is a high yield, high interest marketplace that's not talked about. In part, that's really the value of Warehouse Partners. That's what we're bringing to the marketplace, and that's the opportunity that we're presenting to you today.
We're providing value to an underrated asset class and giving that opportunity to investors to come on board for this next boom.
So the biggest opportunity, I think, in a nutshell, is that there is as much demand in multi-tenant light industrial as there is in multifamily, yet there are very few offerings and very few sponsors offering these opportunities to investors.
If you'd like some more information about Warehouse Partners investments, please contact us at info@WHSEPartners.com.
Let's start a conversation today. We're looking forward to talking to you soon.